after you started studying funk and listening to guys like, Jabo and all that, did that change the way you approached swinging? Like, is there anything you recall just like approaching differently after hearing funk in just a straight jazz context?
No, it didn't leak into my jazz thing too much. But what I did think of right away that's supposed to be new now is playing the ride beat and playing the funky underlay with the left hand and bass drum underneath it. Play funk with one hand and jazz in the other. I've been doing that since 1968. And some guys are telling me, man, hey, I got this new idea. You're going to love it. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's great, bro.
Well, even when you're like, Actual Proof is so funky that, and like, I'm always like floored by how much space Herbie's soloing is amazing, but all the space you and Paul fill on that track alone, it feels like a 6-piece band with just the two of you playing, like how big the sound is. And I mean, even though it's funky, you're still swinging over that track. I mean, did you feel like you had room to stretch and play
totally,
like a lot of that swing in the Headhunters?
Well, only on that tune.
Okay.
And because the rest of the time, there was first of all, when you play with Herbie Hancock, he's a genius. And when you play with that guy, he hears every breath you take and reacts to it. And when he doesn't react to it, that's a reaction too. So he's got you. And also, the stuff he's playing offers you all the room you need to do whatever you want to do, or do nothing should you decide. And doing nothing sometimes can be huge, And like, there's nothing he can't handle rhythmically. There's nothing he can't, it seems like there's nothing he can't handle. I'm sure if there's something in his mind, there's places where he's limited, where he goes like, oh, I gotta, break through here or there. But for me, it's like, I could play upside down and backwards and inside out, and even in another time signature and this and that and da. And man, the guy was, it was like, you hoped you weren't boring him. It wasn't, he played with Tony Williams, man, for years. That was his best friend, Tony. Mm. So he'd been there he'd been to the mountain and back 1,000,000 times before he met me. So he could handle my stuff like that. Wasn't even, no problem. And plus he's very musical. So you're making music with this guy. So you're living inside that collage with him, and it's, and every move counts. Now, also in the Headhunters, there were other guys who were like, man, if you just play on 2 and 4, we're all going to make 1,000,000. I'm like, you're not going to get 1,000,000. He's going to get the millions, not us. So you might as well go on Throw Down. No, man. And so there was pressure for me. So the other tracks on Thrust are fairly pedestrian. So Actual Proof was when I played like how I normally play. So it wasn't unusual for me to play like that. But if you don't know me and you hear the record, it's like, wow, he's playing this good stuff on this track. And well, that's if you like it, I mean. And on the other tracks, he's not. Well, there's a reason. There was pressure for me not to improvise on the other track. But Actual Proof is just the way I was listening to Roy Haynes and all those guys. Now he sings, now he sobs, right around that time. Red Clay, all of the Tony and Miles. I was listening to everything. George Benson, when he was just all of it. The CTI stuff. So it was a natural thing for me. I would go there and always right there unless somebody told me not to. And so I was being asked not to, and I wasn't mad about it. I'd just be like, okay. I mean, I want to be in the band, and it's not going to work if I'm like, yo, man, you can't be telling me how to play. It's nice to be able to say you told somebody that, but you're going to be out of a gig. You can't do that. You could do it in your mind later when you're imagining you walked in the saloon with your 6-gun strapped on low, and everybody was afraid of you. But that's not how it really goes. So you got to deal with how it really goes. And I needed a gig. I didn't want to lose that one, so I went with it.
Well, Well, I was just gonna say I can't believe you're calling the other tracks like pedestrian, because to me, like the parts you came up with for those other tracks are iconic. Like the beginning, like the start of Palm Grease.
Yeah,
that beat is I love that so much. And then like the percussion breakdowns in the head of Palm Grease and Butterfly, just the short like couple measures where you like all that stuff is so like.
Well, that's me trying not to play. I'm still trying to be me, but I'm not improvising a whole lot of stuff, so I tried to make the beat special. So now we're talking about not an open improv, we're talking about beats and fills. And because I'm a jazz artist, I didn't think along the lines of beats and fills. It was like, I'm thinking I want to be, I'm not thinking I want to play like Elvin Jones, because I can't, but I'm thinking I want to do something like this as far as communicating throughout the piece.
Yeah.
But when you get into beats and fills, it doesn't mean it's less than or not as good as. It's just beats and fills is different than going in there and just playing how you feel.